very much. Rich and I go way back. He was the first person who introduced me to libertarianism in law school, and our other roommate, Bobby Dyer, and I were talking to Rich about it. He was trying to explain it to us, and we were like, it doesn't sound like anything that'll ever make it, blah, blah, blah. Well, let me tell you tonight, there's a movie out right now that I recommend you all go see. It's called IOUSA, and you can see it pretty much across the street from here at Perimeter Point 10. I saw it on Thursday night. And it basically tells us where our country is headed financially under the major parties, okay? And it's a really bad scene. And the people who put together the movie included Pete Peterson, Warren Buffett, Dave Walker, former comptroller general. And what they all say basically is we're headed for an economic disaster unless we change course very substantially, okay? And we all know that the two major parties are equally responsible for this huge government, the huge debts, and neither one of them wants to come forward and do the leadership things that need to be done to get the country on the right track. And this is the opening the Libertarian Party needs. I know a lot of us have minds that sort of tend to think about constitutional issues. Some people like to emphasize drugs, other people look at taxes. But when you think about this, what's going to happen is there's only three ways to solve these problems. I know you hate to hear the numbers from me, and I know that's boring, but basically, I'll say something that doesn't involve numbers. Our GAO, which is the Government Accountability Office, that's the audit arm of the federal government, says they see our debt spiraling out of control, okay? And they also say within about 20 years, if we keep tax revenues where they are, they will not be enough to cover interest on our debt, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. So for our actual government, our defense, our various agencies, there's no money for that. At that point, you're really in a situation where your stock market is starting to get hit dramatically because the strongest, or previously the strongest government in the world is headed towards an economic collapse. But there's only three solutions to these problems. Okay, there's only three. One is substantially greater government. And the last I checked, the vast majority of people substantially greater taxes, okay? And I'm talking about like double the taxes we pay now. The last I checked, people are not interested in that. The second alternative is massive immigration. And I'm talking about, we bring in about 1 million people a year. We're talking like the neighborhood of 5 million people a year. And these are not people who are going to make minimum wage. These are people who make $50,000 and up. So you can tax them and help feed this entitlement pool, okay? I don't think there will be enough of the population who will be interested in that alternative. The only other alternative, the only other one, is reduced government, okay? And what's going to happen as time goes on, the first baby boomers are eligible for early retirement under Social Security this year. They're eligible for Medicaid in 2011. In 2017, Social Security surpluses turned to deficits. And then you have 6 years of people getting Medicaid and Social Security. By that time, we're in a growth curve, and it just gets worse from there. So what I'm trying to say to you is over time, sometime between 4 and 20 years from now, the Libertarian Party will be one of the 2 or 3 major parties in the country. There's no two ways about it. It may be one of the only 2 major parties, maybe one of 3, okay? But it's going to happen, because what's going to happen is tough choices are going to have to be made. And the Democrats are not going to reduce government, okay? And the Republicans want to pour on more and more debt. Well, as Bob just pointed out, this 10.6, we'll get there, we're going to hit 10 before the end of the year. These numbers just don't work. They don't work at all. So the only choices are, I said again, if you're going to have a solid defense, I think we all agree we need to eliminate most of these foreign military bases and be a country instead of a quasi-empire. But the only real, what you're going to have to do is figure out what government do we really need, which is what we all want to begin with. And we're going to have to start reducing these entitlements, okay? And we're going to have to get down to the government we really need, which is what we all want. And that's inevitable. Economically, that's going to happen. There's no other way about it. Financially, it can't work any other way. So what I'm saying to you is, a lot of us have been involved in this for a while. Rich, since back in law school, and I know a lot of you have been involved in the movement a lot longer than I have, but it's inevitable that this is going to succeed. It just has to be financial. a lot of people think the world's going to come to an end in 2012, and if that happens, well, it doesn't really matter. But it's going to happen. So I know a lot of us are waiting. It's inevitable. It just has to. From a financial and economic perspective. We talked about my race briefly. I don't want to bore you, but I actually think I have a chance to win my race. That may sound crazy. It's not. Yesterday, my campaign manager attended a meeting with the campaign manager of the Martin campaign and the campaign manager of the Chambliss campaign. And we agreed at 8 to 10 televised debates across the state with all three of us involved. Okay? At one point, the Chambliss campaign said, oh, well, Senator Chambliss has got to be in Washington, so he might not be able to make all the debates, and that's when the Martin campaign manager said, we'll go to Washington. My campaign manager said, well, we're kind of tight on funds, and Martin's manager said, we'll pay for your airfare. I'm having that looked into to make sure that's all legal. I told my wife, should I say at the Ritz, or in any event, Martin sees his only chance, it took him a few weeks to figure it out, I think, is to have me do very well. And Chambliss's goal was pretty obvious from the get-go, was to say, well, this is just me against Mr. Martin, I'm the lesser of two evils. But fortunately, starting in 2004, I made enough connections with the media, and overall I think they like me, and they're going to involve me in all the debates. I've talked to the Atlanta Press Club, and I've been told that you are going to be part of the action. And I plan to take this to them tooth and nail between now and November 4th, because I'm going to go for it. I really think I can possibly win this. It's still a long shot. One other thing is a guy named Joe McCutcheon. Okay, some of you may have heard of him. Bob knows him. And about 3 months ago, Joe McCutcheon called me, and I had never heard of this guy before, and he said, you don't know me, I'm Joe McCutcheon. He said, I'm the #1 caller to radio and TV across the country. And I was like, this guy sounds like a nut. And then he continued to start to call me more and more. So I called my friends. I said, have you ever heard of this guy? He said, oh, that's that crew who calls CNN and C-SPAN and whatnot. Well, then I got a hold of a guy who was with the Concord Coalition. And I said, do you know Joe McCutcheon? He said, yes, Joe, if you can get anybody behind you in this state, he's the best person to get behind your campaign. And that guy is going out everywhere and getting behind me. Today he told me, Oscar Poole up in LJ, the former chairman of the Gilmer County Republican Party has gotten behind me. He told me to announce it here tonight, so I'm doing so. Joe called me today 11 times. Between 4 o'clock and 6, he called 6 times, and my wife said, that's not normal. Yeah, I got to agree, but he's a great guy. He's a type A, squared, quadrupled personality. He was Businessman of the Year in 1975 in Georgia, and he is just helping me tremendously. So if you come across Joe, please thank him for me. He's talking to all the higher ranking people in the Republican Party across the state, and he's telling me a lot of them are coming over. There's a lot of talking right now. So hang in there. There may be an article in tomorrow's AJC about my campaign, and hopefully it'll be positive. You never know with the media, but I just want to tell you that get ready for a very exciting next 2 months and whatever it is, 14 days, 11 days, because I really think I have an opportunity. Again, it's a long shot, but I think it's possible. Thank you.